What is going on, shrimp keepers? This is Rob with flipaquatics.com, and today we are going to talk about this amazing 480 gallon tank behind me. We're going to go in depth with some stuff. I want to show you how proper planning can make the perfect aquarium almost every time. I mean, granted, there's always little things that can happen, but with good planning, with good research, with good homework, you can have a successful aquarium 99.99% of the time. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's get right into it. When I first started this aquarium, I knew right away that I was going to put Taiwan bees in here. And so with Taiwan bees, they require certain parameters, so I knew that I had to work backwards. I couldn't just set up a tank and go right into it and put Taiwan bees into it and then hope that they're going to be successful. And so I knew that I had to match certain water parameters. So the most important thing with any tank is choosing what you're going to put in it first, knowing what water parameters they need and knowing if you have to influence the parameters. So in this tank, Taiwan bees, I know that they need a low pH. I know that they want soft water, and so how do I achieve that? So to truly achieve the perfect water parameters, the truth is that you have to start from zero. And what I mean by that, you need to start with either distilled water, RODI water. Basically, it's a water with a total dissolved solid of 0. Now what that means, right now I have with me, this is called a TDS pen. You can get this on Amazon. It's about $10 to $15. It's called TDS EZ. And what this does is it measures how much TDS is in your water. And by TDS, it means total dissolved solid. So RO water, RODI water, distilled water should all have a TDS of near 0. Now it might be 1 or 2, it might be 3. Anything below 10 is usually acceptable, but the closer to 0, the better. Now, you could say that, hey, my water's already good, I have the perfect tap water, I have the perfect well water, I measure my TDS, it's within range of what I'm going for. But the truth of the matter is, we really don't know what's in our water. There's no way that we can test for everything unless we send it off to a specialist. And then again, do we even know what our fish really need? And so to just start at 0, start at the very, very beginning, the foundation, and build it back up with, the proper minerals is the right way to go. It's just easy, it's foolproof, it's consistent, you know it's gonna work every single time. And so that is why we usually don't use tap water, we don't use city water, we don't use well water. Because again, we don't know what our city's putting in the water. We don't know what bacteria bloom and what they're treating for, what chemicals they're putting in there. That might be safe for humans, but not necessarily for our shrimp, for our fish, for our plants. And so it's always good just to start with pure RO water. It's a little more expensive up front, but you're gonna see so much more success down the road. Listen, I made you guys a deal last week. The deal was if we reach 500 likes on the video, that I would do another video this week about the 480 gallon. So here I am fulfilling that promise. Now I'll make you another deal this week. If we reach 1,000 likes on this video, I will do another video on the 480 gallon next week. So let me know in the comments below whether you want to see more videos like this one or if you want to see different style videos. Just let me know, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We so appreciate you joining the family, and we look forward to you being a part of this journey with us. Okay, so to achieve the perfect water, how do we do it? How do we keep it simple that anyone could do it? You're not measuring GH, TDS, you're not measuring, well, you are measuring TDS, but you're not measuring the GH every time, you're not measuring the KH every time, you're not going on there and measuring the pH. Like, how can we keep this so simple that anyone could do it? And here's what we do. We keep it as simple as possible so that we could train any employee, no matter who they are, no matter what their background is in the aquarium hobby, that they can just come in and do a water change and know that it's gonna be perfect every single time. So, our favorite product that we have been using for so long is called Bee Shrimp Mineral GH+. Now this is just a GH booster, and what that means is it doesn't have any KH in it. So this is strictly general hardness. It doesn't have any carbonate hardness. And why that's important to Taiwan bees and other bee type shrimp is that we want to be able to influence the pH to make it less than 7. The lower, the better. But KH is what increases the pH. It actually makes it stable. So the more KH you have, the harder it is to influence the pH. So no KH, that is what we're aiming for. So we're using GH+ only. Now to keep this simple, I talked earlier about water parameters and how RO water, distilled water, RODI water all have a TDS near 0. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add this into our distilled water until we get a TDS of about 100. Again, You're going to be using this TDS pen. You can get it from Amazon. I'm sure you can get it from eBay. Tons of retailers out there sell TDS pens. But you are going to use RO water mixed with GH Plus to get a TDS of 100, and you are going to have the perfect water for shrimp every single time. So if you don't want to do powder, and the reason that you wouldn't want to do powder is it's a little bit harder to mix, takes a little bit longer to get your readings. You might put a scoop in and it might take an hour for it to completely dissolve in the distilled water. Another option is liquid GH boosters. So this is a product by Brightwell. It's called Caridina GH Plus, and it's already pre-mixed. So the nice thing about this is you just add it to your bucket of distilled water, your gallon jug, whatever it is. It's gonna give you an accurate reading of TDS almost immediately. So it makes it really easy when doing water changes. The reason we don't use this is because we have so much water volume here that powder is just so much more cost effective for us. So this is a great product. We recommend it, but we don't currently use it here, at least on this. One thing I did want to tell you, again, we have not done a water change on this tank for about 6 months now. And our TDS, now it should be a little high because we have nitrates, we dose some fertilizers, things like that. It looks like we're coming in about 142, which for Taiwan bees, you want to stay about 100 to 120. So this is high, but there's a lot that plays into this. So this is a great teaching lesson to show you that TDS really doesn't mean that much, only when mixing brand new water. So when you're starting with distilled water, you can use a TDS pen to ensure that you're below 10, preferably at 0 or really near 0. And then you can add in your GH booster, whether it's the Bee Shrimp Mineral or it's the Caridina GH Plus from Brightwell. You can add that in, and then it's going to give you an accurate TDS of about 100 to 120, and that's how you know you have the perfect water every single time. So this one, it's probably getting near for needing a water change, but for now it's doing great, so we're going to leave it the way it is. Let's say you don't want to follow my directions exactly, and that's completely okay. You can buy a GH and KH test kit, and you just need to ensure that your water has a KH of 0. 1 is acceptable but not ideal. 2, I mean, it could work, but you're really aiming for 0 on KH, which is carbonate hardness. Now for GH, you're aiming for 4 to 6. Now that seems to be the magic number. Now there's plenty of cheap options out there just for GH boosters, but it doesn't have all the other minerals that are in the water or in the salt mix that are ensuring that it's proper for shrimp. So there's GH in there, there's KH in there, but there's so much more in there that ensures that you're gonna have a successful tank. So if you wanna have success every single time, get these minerals and use either distilled water, RO water, DI water, and that's how you're gonna be successful. And again, a proper GH is 4 to 6, a KH is 0 to 1, and a TDS of 100 to 120 is always best. Now, let's talk about pH and how that's gonna affect this tank. One of the most important things in any shrimp tank is the soil, especially for Taiwan bees. If there's one thing you need to know about Taiwan bees, it's that they require soft water and they require a very low pH. And so the only way to properly achieve a low pH is by using what is called a buffering substrate. Now what a buffering substrate is basically it is soil, volcanic soil, that is made in a way that it's going to influence the pH of the water. So again, because we're not using any KH in this water, the pH can really go wherever it wants. It can fluctuate like crazy. And so by using what's called a buffering substrate, you're able to control the pH and bring it to a level that you want it to be at. For this tank, we chose Brightwell shrimp soil. It's actually called Rio Escuro. You can find it on flipaquatics.com just as Brightwell shrimp soil because the Rio Escuro gets a little confusing. Now the reason we chose Brightwell soil was simply because it is the soil that we had the most impact with. We had the best results, we had the most success, we had breeding just naturally happening in tanks that we were using it in, and all in all it appeared to be the most successful soil that we could find. And as you can see, the results speak for themselves. We've had crazy results in here as far as plant growth, crazy results as far as shrimp breeding. Not only does the soil influence the pH, not only did it ensure that the babies were going to thrive and grow and have the perfect parameters, but the plant growth in this tank is just absolutely phenomenal. And this soil actually has built-in minerals with it, and what it does is it just creates a really healthy environment for not only plants to thrive, but for shrimp to thrive as well. So now we know that water parameters is by far the most important thing in any tank. The second thing is the soil, especially with things that need a lower pH. Next, it really comes down to hardscape. What you put in the tank is so important to the success of your shrimp that people don't even consider it. They really just throw in what they think looks nice, and at the end of the day, without proper planning, it can really bite you in the butt. And so we're gonna get into why we chose the rocks that we chose, why we chose the plants that we chose, and why we chose the driftwood that we chose, and how that all came together to create a perfect environment for shrimp to breed. Let's start with plants first. As you can see from the tank, the plants are absolutely thriving. We have Crypt Winty in here, we have Crypt spiralis, we have narrow-leaf Java fern, we have normal Java fern, trident Java fern, we have tons of different mosses, we have swords in the back, we have so many different plants in here. But one thing that I knew is that I did not have a ton of time. I knew that I wouldn't be able to get in here and trim plants, I wouldn't be able to dose it every single week. I just don't have that kind of time, and I knew that with my schedule. And so what I did is I chose plants that were easy. I chose beginner plants that look great, that would thrive, and you can just see the results. This tank takes the minimal amount of effort, and it looks like to me, it really looks like something you would see in a magazine. And so looking at this every single day truly just brings joy to me. It relaxes me when I'm stressed, and it's just such an enjoyment to sit back and see what nature looks like, and it's been a true enjoyment. But then the question is, why are plants important? So I've always said this from the time that I started off with shrimp keeping, that moss is so important to every shrimp tank. And as you can see, we have an absolute ton in here. And having a ton of babies is just in reflection of doing the right steps to ensure that the babies are gonna thrive. So what moss does is it creates a natural hiding ground for shrimp to get in there. It also creates a natural feeding ground so that microorganisms could thrive in there, algae can grow in there, and the shrimp can go in there, especially baby shrimp, hide, they can feed. The moss collects the bacteria E, the shrimp baby food, different things like that. So moss is almost an ideal thing in any shrimp tank, and it's really not that hard to grow. As I've said, like, I really don't do that much maintenance to this tank. I don't add that many fertilizers. It really comes down to just proper planning, proper execution, and just having the right parameters and the right setup, and just letting nature take its course. Although you really can't see it, there is a piece of driftwood under there. This is actually Pacific Encryptus root, something like that. And what this is it's just a big piece of driftwood. It's similar to Malaysian driftwood. And the reason we always use driftwood in our aquariums is because I always use an analogy is that as a hobbyist, we always want to have the perfect clean tank. We don't want algae on the glass. And I always tell everyone that who is going to take a piece of driftwood out, scrub the algae off, and put it back in? And the answer is very, very few people. Now, I'm sure we're going to get one or two people in the comments that are like, yeah, I do that all the time. But the truth of the matter is most of us won't do that. And so what driftwood does is it creates nooks and crannies for algae to grow, and it creates a place for biofilm to grow. If you've ever seen wood put into your tank and you start getting like a moldy white substance growing from it, that's really just the sugars leaching out of the wood that's creating biofilm that is the best food for shrimp. And so driftwood not only becomes a natural food source, a natural place for grazing, but it provides a lot of nook and crannies for the shrimp to hide after molting. And all in all, it's just a great thing. Now, it also leaches tannins, which some people won't like, but I actually prefer. Now, what tannins are is it's basically like the brown tint. Think of it as tea. When you boil herbal things and tea comes out to a different color. When it's basically tea going into your tank. And now what those tannins are is they're just natural antioxidants, things in the water that are just going to encourage the health of your shrimp. How often do we go into nature and see a crystal clear stream? Not very often. And I can almost guarantee you where these shrimp come from, there aren't those crystal clear streams. There's a lot of tannin-rich waters. And so to reproduce their natural habitat is only going to get you closer and closer to success. Last but definitely not least is dragonstone. Now, when I was planning out this tank, I knew that I wanted to use either cerastone or dragonstone. And after thinking about it, I knew that dragonstone was the only option we could use. And here's why. Cerastone is notorious for leaching GH into the water, KH in the water. It's a hard stone, and so it's gonna definitely play into your parameters. It's kind of like putting crushed coral in your tank. Now, dragonstone is a clay-based rock that really will not encourage your pH to go anywhere. It won't influence your GH or your KH. Now, it might vary slightly, especially when you're using as much as we're using here, But for the most part, it's really an inert stone, which makes it very appealing for Taiwan bee tanks, any low pH tank. And here's the greatest thing about this rock. Now this rock has tons and tons of holes in it. And now we've talked about surface area and how it provides biofilm and how algae can grow in there. We talked about hiding places. Now, when it comes to rocks, this is the best rock for shrimp simply because of all these holes. Look at all the hiding places, look at all the surface area where shrimp can get in there after they molt, and they can just hide. And so dragonstone is simply the best rock for keeping shrimp. And that's why we use it, in addition to it just being absolutely beautiful. But it's a phenomenal rock and it works really well in a shrimp tank. So in closing, if you want to have a tank like this one, if you want to have the success that we've had, if you want to see the baby shrimp that we've seen, if you want to see the plant growth that you're looking at, one is definitely parameters, water parameters. Do your research about the fish, the shrimp, whatever you're getting, and try to match those parameters as best as possible. Two would be the right soil. You got to choose the right soil for what you're trying to do, and especially for Taiwan bees, you got to pick the right soil. And so again, Brightwell shrimp soil or Rio Oscuro is the #1 choice for us. And then the next thing would be hardscape. So the wood, the rock, the plants, like choosing the right things to go into a tank is gonna make your tank that much more successful. And so I want to encourage you guys, do your homework, do your research, and soon you can have a tank just like this one. Alright, so I got my my Dunkin' Donuts behind me. I gotta drink some coffee. I gotta edit this video. But you guys, thank you so much for staying along and being a part of this journey with us, for watching the full video all the way to the end. I so appreciate you guys. Thank you for all the members that have signed up to support us and believe in what we're doing. You guys, I hope you guys are having a great weekend. I hope you have a great week ahead. And you guys just make it an awesome week. Go out there and make an impact on the world, make an impact on this hobby, and do something that you truly love. You guys are awesome. I love you guys so much. Thank you for the support, and God bless.